This is a story that will make your blood boil. It's about how a simple clerical error, made by a completely separate company, can trigger a cascade of unfair bank charges. It's about a man named Marvin, who did everything right but was still penalized. His tale shines a glaring spotlight on a banking system that often feels rigid, unforgiving, and completely disconnected from the real-world problems its customers face. This isn't just about $100, it's about the principle of fairness and the immense stress that financial institutions can inflict on vulnerable people when they refuse to apply a bit of common sense and compassion. To truly understand the weight of this situation, you need to know a little about Marvin. He's a man who has faced more than his fair share of challenges in life. For years, he has courageously managed a complex set of health conditions, requiring constant medical attention and a carefully managed budget. This isn't a man with a vast financial safety net. Every pound and penny is accounted for. He relies on his limited income and meticulously organizes his finances to cover his essential living costs and, crucially, his healthcare needs. His bank accounts are not just numbers on a screen, they are the lifelines that ensure he can access the treatment he needs to stay well. The problem began with a routine transaction, paying for his annual health insurance policy. Knowing his financial situation intimately, Marvin gave his insurance provider very specific, crystal-clear instructions. He told them precisely which bank account to take the payment from. An account he had ensured was funded and ready for this exact purpose. He did his part diligently, planning ahead to make sure the payment would go through smoothly without a single hitch. He confirmed the details and believed, quite reasonably, that his instructions would be followed to the letter, securing his vital health cover for another year. Unfortunately, that is not what happened. Somewhere within the insurance company's administrative process, a mistake was made. Despite Marvin's clear directions, the agent handling the payment disregarded his instructions. Instead, they attempted to debit the funds from a different account, one Marvin uses for his day-to-day essentials and which he deliberately keeps with a low balance. This single, avoidable error set off a chain reaction. The payment request bounced as there were insufficient funds, and like clockwork, his bank immediately slapped him with a hefty $100 in returned payment and overdraft fees, plunging him into a stressful and completely unnecessary financial battle. The moment Marvin saw the unexpected $100 charge, he didn't panic, he sprang into action. He knew instantly that something was wrong. He hadn't authorized any payments from that particular account, so he began his investigation with methodical precision. His first port of call was his bank, where he queried the charge, explaining that he had not initiated this transaction. The bank staff confirmed the charge was due to a bounced payment attempt from his insurance company. This confirmed Marvin's suspicion that the error did not lie with him, but with the insurer. He knew he needed proof to fight his corner effectively. Armed with this information, Marvin's next step was to contact the insurance company directly. He calmly and clearly explained the situation to them, detailing the incorrect debit attempt and the resulting bank fees he had unfairly incurred. He was firm but fair, simply asking them to acknowledge their mistake. To their credit, the insurance company quickly reviewed their records and their call logs. They found the evidence of their clerical error and admitted fault without any argument. This was a crucial first victory for Marvin, as it validated his entire position and gave him the ammunition he needed for the next stage of his fight. Getting a verbal admission of guilt is one thing, but Marvin knew he needed something more concrete. He insisted that the insurance company provide him with written confirmation of their mistake. He requested a formal letter or an email that he could present to his bank as undeniable proof that the entire situation was caused by their error, not by any fault of his own. The insurer complied, sending him a detailed email which explicitly stated that their agent had used the wrong account details, contrary to his clear instructions. This piece of paper was his golden ticket, the proof that should have resolved the entire issue there and then. With this written evidence in hand, Marvin was confident that his bank would see reason. He had done all the hard work for them. He had identified the source of the problem, liaised with the third party responsible, and obtained a formal admission of their error. He had effectively solved the case, tracing the problem from the effect, the $100 fee, right back to its cause. He had a watertight case demonstrating that he was the innocent victim in this financial mix-up. All that was left was for the bank to acknowledge the facts and make things right by reversing the unfair charges. Marvin returned to his bank, feeling prepared and justified. He presented the email from the insurance company, the black and white proof that the fault lay entirely with them. He explained the entire timeline of events, from his initial instructions to the insurer's mistake. He reasonably expected the bank to look at the evidence, understand the situation, and immediately refund the full $100 in fees. After all, the bank had suffered no actual financial loss. The payment was simply rejected. The fees were purely punitive, a penalty for a situation that Marvin had no control over whatsoever. The bank's response was both baffling and deeply disappointing. After reviewing the case, they offered him a so-called goodwill gesture. They agreed to give Marvin a $29 discount off the $100 charge, leaving him to pay about $70. While a $29 discount was better than nothing, it was fundamentally unjust. By refunding only $29, the bank was implicitly suggesting that Marvin was somehow 29% responsible for the problem, which was demonstrably false. He had done nothing wrong, the bank's logic was flawed, you are either at fault, or you are not. A partial refund in this context felt less like a gesture of goodwill and more like an admission that their fees were arbitrary to begin with. To make matters worse, the bank then gave Marvin an utterly unreasonable directive. They told him that if he wanted the remaining $71, he needed to go back to the insurance company and get them to pay it. This is a classic case of what I call customer ping pong, where a large company passes the buck and forces the consumer to do all the chasing. Marvin's contract is with his bank, not with the insurer. The bank charged him the $100 fee, so it is the bank's responsibility to refund it. Forcing a customer, especially one with health challenges and coping with the recent loss of his mother in March this year, to mediate a dispute between two large corporations is unfair, stressful, and a complete dereliction of their duty of care. This entire situation highlights a critical flaw in the banking system. The bank lost no money in this transaction. The attempted payment was simply blocked. The $100 fee was generated automatically by a computer system that lacks any capacity for nuance or understanding. It was a punishment for a bounced payment, but the system cannot differentiate between a customer who recklessly mismanages their funds and one who is the victim of a third-party error. When Marvin presented clear evidence of the latter, the human element at the bank should have overridden the machine and waived the full amount without question. Their refusal to do so is a failure of service. The impact of this $100 charge on Marvin went far beyond the number itself. For someone on a tightly managed budget, that amount represents a significant portion of their disposable income for the month. It's money that was earmarked for essential healthcare co-payments, medication, or transport to medical appointments. The stress of the dispute itself took a toll on his well-being, causing unnecessary anxiety at a time when he needed to focus on his health. The bank's inflexible stance created a real-world consequence, forcing him to juggle his finances and potentially delay or sacrifice aspects of his healthcare. This is the human cost of rigid corporate policies. Ultimately, this whole affair was about phantom money. No real funds were lost by anyone. The insurance payment didn't go through, so the insurer wasn't out of pocket. Marvin didn't receive any goods or services he didn't pay for. The bank didn't lend him any money or cover any shortfall. The $100 fee was conjured out of thin air by the bank's internal systems as a penalty. When the reason for that penalty was proven to be invalid, the fee itself should have vanished just as quickly. The bank's insistence on keeping $71 of it feels like nothing more than opportunistic profiteering from a customer's misfortune. My message to Marvin's bank is simple and direct. Do the right thing. Look at the evidence again and refund the remaining $71 immediately. Acknowledge that your customer did everything correctly and was let down by a process outside of his control. Apologize for the stress and inconvenience you have caused him by forcing him to fight for what is clearly and justly his. It is not his job to chase the insurance company for your fee. Your relationship is with him, and it is your responsibility to treat him fairly. This small amount of money is insignificant to your profits, but it means a great deal to him. More broadly, this case should be a wake-up call for the entire banking industry. It is time for a fundamental policy change. Banks need to introduce a more common-sense approach for handling fees caused by proven third-party errors. When a customer can provide clear evidence, like Marvin did, that they are not at fault, all related fees should be waived instantly and in full. No partial refunds, no goodwill gestures, and absolutely no forcing the customer to chase another company. It's time for banks to program some fairness and flexibility into their systems and stand by the customers who trust them with their hard-earned money.